Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Cyber Queens. We are your hosts, Meryl, Erica, and Amber. I'm Meryl Verne, resident ethical hacker and offensive security expert.
I'm Amber DeVilbus. I'm an account director.
And that's Erica Eakins, who works in cyber sales with her dog.
Sorry, FedEx guy came.
Excellent. This is a live show that happens sometimes. Just wanted to say, welcome everybody to, again, another episode. This week we are discussing something super spicy that I love a whole lot about self-sabotage and limiting your own potential, which we as women tend to do all over the place, not just in cyber. And I want to say, if you're joining me here today right now, and you want to catch me in about another hour after this ends, you can catch me at Unicon giving a talk on how to win friends and influence purple. So that's what I'm doing after this. But here we are today discussing self-sabotage. So self-sabotage, what does that mean to you ladies? What do you think it is? Have you noticed yourself doing it? Where have you noticed it? Give me your thoughts.
Do you want to go first, Erica? Or do you want me to go first?
Erica's smiling.
I would say it's like my strong suit. It's like one of my biggest strengths.
Professional self-sabotager.
Go ahead, Amber.
No, I mean, I guess to me, I would say self-sabotage is you just, whether consciously or subconsciously, kind of limiting yourself in using certain behaviors that actually don't get you further ahead, they actually put you behind. So even though you're attempting to get better at what you're doing, they're actually hindering your advancement. So to me, that's kind of self-sabotage in a nutshell. In the professional world, right? There's, I think, different things, but
different ways we self-sabotage, like dating the same guy over and over and over again. I mean, I don't do that. Who does that?
No, I can tell you, my ex-husband, who used to say he would go to AA and then go to the bar after that, that's self-sabotage, and then cry about it the next day. How about that?
Yeah. Wow. There you go.
That's a heavy one.
There.
We always go there. We're always down to go there. That's what we do. I think what it really is us not giving ourselves permission to succeed. It's us like subconsciously doing things that hinder our own progress because we're afraid, like, what if I succeed? It's like not so much what if we fail, but it's like let's say putting yourself out there for a talk or telling people you're going to lose 20 pounds, whatever it is you want to do. And then you like don't do it because you're like, what if I put myself out there and it actually happens? Or what if I put myself out there and people know I attempted something I was not able to keep up with? And I just think it holds people back from trying and attempting to progress. And we always say, like, the number one strategy for getting into cyber and getting into highly technical jobs like we have is just to freaking try today or tomorrow. Like, but just start somewhere. And I feel like so many of the reasons why we don't and why people don't progress in certain areas of life where they'd love to, like financial health or physical, mental health, is because they do self-sabotage.
Yep.
It's just
so what my toxic trait has been that I've told myself I cannot go to become a VP of sales because I've been told that I'm not ready by people who are either in those roles or recruiting for those roles. And currently right now I'm being interviewed for a VP of sales role and I almost have the offer. And I've told myself for years, I can't do it, but I do it naturally on a daily basis. Amber tells me all the time. Meryl's told me before, like, this is my self-sabotage and my toxic trait. I've been in sales for 12 years. Why am I not a VP? Yeah, there's a lot of reasons, the gender gap. We'll just leave that topic alone. I'm really salty about that right now. Salty. And the toxicity from the people in those roles right now. But who are you to tell me that I can't be a VP of sales? I'm better at it than you are. You suck. You're old.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And those are, I think, the mindsets and the inherent biases that make us believe that we need to self-sabotage. Like, I mean, you don't even have to sabotage me. I will talk myself out of opportunities without you even being present. I don't even need you to be there to doubt me. I'll doubt myself plenty. And it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because I do see so many of us out there succeeding once we do find what we're good at, because we have had to try a number of things. As you know, I put out a TikTok. I tried a number of things and thought I will be great at all of these. Sucked. Yeah. No, didn't suck, but didn't like them. And I was like, what if I'd never tried cyber? Because I was like, I just can't make it. That would have been unfortunate.
Maria, that I thought you would like that one. She just commented, "You're old, LOL."
Maria, we love to see you, ma'am. It's great to have you back with us. We're all old. I'm old. I'm at the age now where if plans don't conclude by 10, not start at 10, if they don't conclude by 10, I'm
conclude.
No, 9 p.m.
Love that.
In fact, if we could all politely start out with the intention of making plans and then we could all courteously cancel shortly before, that would be great for me personally.
There you go.
That's not self-sabotage.
Even better.
That's just personal preference. That's a Capricorn thing, I think.
Yeah. Oh, well, that explains it all. There you go.
Yes.
Capricorns are
January
just
Capricorn,
relentless, hard workers.
Not a December Capricorn.
Still.
Ain't nobody want to deal with a December Capricorn.
This
anyway,
makes so much sense.
Does my sign make sense for me?
It does. You know, my little sister is a Capricorn, and she has always had so many jobs at the same time because she just always is working. I mean, it's just like she's a workhorse, right? Like every Capricorn I know, you know, present company included. All you guys do is work. So there you go. I thought I worked and then I met you guys. So there's that. Part of the self-sabotage, right? Overcommitting. That's always fun.
Yeah. I think that's my toxic trait. Speaking of toxic traits, Erica said hers. It's like that guy said in your comments earlier, Erica. He's like, "Oh my God, again? Do you slow down?" We're like, "What is that? What does that mean?" Do you do? I don't do that. I don't think I know how. I was telling Amber like just before we got on this call, like I just kind of don't know how to stop. If I don't have enough going on, I kind of get bored and I start to get like restless and I start to like see other things. Like I'm like, I have an extra hour I could fill in every week with doing something. What am I going to do with that? So I don't know. I think my toxic trait is that I oversubscribe sometimes. And if I was listening to the 8 Great Habits of Highly Successful People, I would say no to more things. And I think that's going to be, my lesson to unlearn this year is to say no to a few more things than I previously have.
Yeah. Yes. We're going to work on that, Meryl.
For real, especially Meryl.
You guys going to be my accountability buddies.
Things.
Meryl, what are you doing? Starting a business? Don't do that. You don't need another business today, Meryl. Stop. Stop it. What about you, Amber? What's your toxic trait?
Well, I'm a people pleaser. So, you know, I'm always afraid to say no. I'm always like, yeah, sure, I'll figure that out. And then like cry about it later in private that I said yes. You know, and so overcommitting, I think, and then just, I don't know. I think it's for me, it's kind of like I've always, I mean, not to bring, you know, astrology into it, but since we're already on the topic, you know, being a Leo, it's kind of like, I have like this pride that I have to be able to do this, right? Like if there's somebody like, well, now I'm gonna have to make time in my schedule to show you that you're wrong, right? So like, and then I have to tell you, and then I have to tell you that you're not available because I know your schedule better than you do. That's true. That's very true. Same. Like I'll be like, hey, oh my gosh, I am going to go to this thing, and she's like, no, you're not. You have a meeting from this time to this time, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, yeah. Well,
and I don't even have your calendar on my. I'm not connected to your calendar. I just know because I listen to everything you say.
Yeah, you know,
Pisces. Hello.
The fact that you're a Leo makes so much freaking sense, Amber. I'm gonna.
Hey,
that makes so much sense. That makes so much sense.
10 shades of crazy.
Dated a Leo once, and it crashed and burned. It was horrible.
Mm-hmm. It's a whole different dynamic.
I'm the mediator here.
Maria.
Yeah, that's why this trifecta makes sense.
Maria's also apparently a Leo.
Yeah,
Maria.
Yeah, you can't say no. You have to overcommit yourself because then at that point it's just like if you say no, you're almost admitting fault and like admitting that you can't do something. So it's like, nope, I have to please everybody. I have to shine, right? So
people pleasing is a form of self-sabotage because what you're basically saying is my work is not important. The goals and things that I set out for myself, my plans for today, I'm not even going to honor those because I think it's more important to have you like me and to make you happy and to keep your stuff moving forward than to keep my stuff moving forward. Yeah. So that is a form of self-sabotage. Absolutely.
A recent role that I had knew I had this podcast, but would schedule meetings every Wednesday from 10 to 11 a.m. MST, Mountain Standard Time. And I would just be like, okay, after I've already committed that I'd be there.
I'll move it. I'm happy to move. No, I mean, things in our jobs do move quickly. We're happy to be flexible. Cyber is like that. But you know, it is a thing when someone sees you having something that punctuates a failure that they have or an inadequacy that they have, and they feel the need to undercut you or to bring you down or to make it so you can't have that.
Remember what you told me in 2022? He saw that you were pioneering something, so he immediately had to sabotage it or, you know, interrupt it because he can't do that himself.
Weird.
What? Remember that conversation, Meryl?
I do remember that conversation very, very vividly.
We won't
That was a
say
good
who your
one.
name is. We won't say who you are, but you know who you are.
You're lucky
my
we don't
gosh.
dox you. If I was a less classy queen, I would dox the ever living crap out of
Yes,
you right now,
classy
but I'm not
queen.
gonna do it.
If I could
Love
say
that.
it, I would, but legally I cannot.
Well, I'm not bound by those anyway. But
You went to the
self-serving.
chief people officer, so you
I did
already
do
did
that. And the CEO. You bet your
Right.
bottom dollar I did that. I social engineered that like an MFer. Absolutely. But self-sabotaging behaviors can be so deeply ingrained in us. It takes so long just to identify, just to have someone like point out the problem. Like, do you realize you have a problem people pleasing? Like Erica has to do to me, and like I have to do back to her. And then to unlearn that behavior, you have to unlearn them actively. So, in identifying self-sabotage, when did you guys realize you had self-sabotaging behaviors? Did you have a light bulb moment?
When I was after my second child, I was 23. And then I continued to do it.
So I know I have a problem. I'm just not gonna say.
Right.
This is great.
Yeah, I knew I had a problem. My daughter's father. We won't get into that, but I was self-sabotaging by basically staying with him and dealing with the things that I dealt with. And then when I was married as well, I talk about him having self-sabotage. My self-sabotage personally was in my marriage and my kid's father. In my career, I noticed it about 5 years ago because I realized that I'm holding myself back with a cluster of other things, because I don't blame anybody for things, but people are part of what's happening. But I'm the one that's telling myself I can't move up, and because I wasn't trying. Like, I'd apply here and there for a promotion, or like, a district sales manager or area sales manager or whatever, because I want to move up in my career. But I wasn't really trying. Like, I'd tell myself reading. This is a self-sabotage that like LinkedIn has done articles about. There's been all these articles, and they say it in the job descriptions now. Even if you don't fit all of these, apply anyways, and then they reject you. Yeah, they reject you anyways. Yeah. But women, we read those job descriptions a lot of the times, and we're like, "Ooh, I don't have that, or that," or even if it's like one thing, and it was a proven study that we just don't apply. Men, they go for it, boom, 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 whether they're qualified or not. So
that's my problem, then, I guess.
Yeah, I self-sabotage. Well,
yeah.
BDE. I can't say what it means, but you guys already probably know BDE. If you don't, Meryl, I'll text it to you.
So I would probably say, I mean, for me, my mom is amazing, and my whole life she's been very like intuitive, and she's just wonderful, right? She kind of helps, like she's always in touch with her like herself spiritually in a way. Like I know it sounds kind of like over the top, but you know what I mean? Like she's very in tune with like how she is and why she does the things she does. And so for a long time, she would kind of, as soon as I got to my teens, she would be like, I feel like you are kind of doing these self-sabotaging behaviors, procrastinating a lot and needing everything to be perfect, right? So like chasing perfectionism through everything. Like a good example for me was when I was creating the book, and my kid's book. It was very frustrating because I was, well, first of all, I have ADHD, as we all know. So I wanted it to be over like in a day. I was like, perfect. Let's get this thing, cranked out in one day and published, right? And for me, I was like, you know what? Nobody else is doing this stuff. Like, it's gonna be fine. I could take a year and it would be fine. And I was like procrastinating, right? And so I remember the first like 2 months that I was in the middle of this whole process, I saw another book come out, and I was like, oh shit. Right now it's going to look like I've been working on this for so long, quote unquote, in my mind, that it's like now people are going to think that I'm like copying their ideas. And so I started racing through things, right? And there, as we all know, by now, because it's like the funny joke of this book, right, is there's a typo in there. And I'm like, how did I not see such an easy typo? And I remember because my mind at that point was just like, I went from procrastination to like, I was trying to be this perfectionist and doing it quickly at the same time. And so all of that for me was very self-sabotaging, because I was like not feeling my most confident. I was like, just get it done, first to market, whatever. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I had a typo. Like, this is the worst. People are going to be like, what kind of book is this? Right. But I mean, I think that's a lot of it though. So I think basically for me, it started when I was younger. And it was something that my mom kind of taught me to recognize in myself. And so I started realizing that I was doing these behaviors at work or other things. And I started noticing what other behaviors might be self-sabotaging. So I can at least be aware of them and hope to, eventually work on them and actually get better about them.
Yeah. And that's really it. It's one of those things where like that negative self-talk just creeps right in. It's like not only were you doubting yourself for like your own capabilities, but then you're hating on yourself for not doing it perfectly, and you're hating on yourself for not thinking of it first. And it's like you literally can't control other people. Like someone might take an idea in a market, you're like, oh crap, that was a great idea. Like when you wrote Little Cyber Engineer, I was like, why didn't you think of that? You could have thought of that. What is your problem? And then I'm like, why am I mad? At least someone thought of it and someone wrote it, and like it was really well done. Like but like I hated on myself so bad for like, with all the other stuff I have going on. I didn't write a book. What's your problem? God, fail at life.
I know. I just told you to write one today. So we're waiting for that now.
Cyber Jiu-Jitsu Award, a nominee. Okay. Like, let's see, forget about the book. That's like the highest compliment you could get, as you told me. Cause I was like, I didn't know what it was. Meryl has been nominated for did I say it right? Cyber Jiu-Jitsu?
Women's cyber jutsu.
It's
like jujitsu, but cyber jutsu.
Oh, okay. Well,
either way, woo!
Like that's the highest compliment you can get or nomination as a purple team or hacker. Like, stop!
It was a big one.
Incredible.
I wanted one of those since I started InfoSec, and I saw like Chloe Mazdaghi and Tanya Jacob won one. And I'm like, I want one of those one day. I'm gonna do everything I do is gonna be in the effort of trying to get one of those one day.
We made you COO. We made you COO of Teach Kids Tech. Like, stop.
And yet the self-doubt still comes in. I'm like, I'm not doing enough.
Right.
Why did I do this?
Well, first of all, again, that's because you're a Capricorn. And second of all, I do think that the things that we should talk about too, when we talk about self-sabotage, is what it does to like your psyche and how you behave in your life and who you become around other people, because you're so stressed, because you're like internalizing all of this like disappointment with yourself, because you're like, man, I know I should stop these things. And I know I should tell myself to go for things when I don't, but like that's bothering me. And so then it makes you almost like a different person than you normally would be.
It is. It alters your brain chemistry. Like a relatable point for me is I'm not typically an emotional person. I'm more of a logic-driven person than I am an emotional person, which serves me in a lot of capacities, but underserves me in others. And, when I do get highly emotional, I don't know how to pull myself out of it. I don't always know how to process them because it's not natural habit for me. So I'm mad at myself. I'm mad because I'm mad. And then I'm mad at myself for being mad and not getting over it. And I'm like, not even letting myself have a negative emotion. Like it'll alter your brain chemistry. I used to walk around in constant fear and like angst and like, am I doing enough? Am I impressing my boss? Are they going to fire me? I'm totally new here. I need to overprove myself, the overprove myself thing. And like, I was constantly doing that. And then one day I woke up, my aha moment. I woke up and I realized my internal monologue is freaking rude. I'm being rude to myself. I was like, I am capable. Yeah. I'm a capable, smart individual. Like I might not be the best, but I'm capable at the bare minimum. Right. And I'm like, why am I being so mean to myself? Instead of that, I'm going to go into this meeting. And I started doing something in college. I kid you not, this works. Superman pose. I would do Superman pose before I go into a meeting for 15, 30 seconds.
Look at that.
And it automatically gives you a physiological response. It boosts your serotonin and your confidence. You go in there, you're like, oh, okay, yes.
I think you go in. Hold on. I think you go in because you're Meryl. Because I'm telling you, I had to do that before one of these, like, what is it called? Like a capstone project thing that we did.
Capstone.
Yeah, at Force Point. And I remember I had to present in front of like the actual C-level executives. I'm like, oh my God, they're going to fire me if I don't do well. And I remember somebody that was in my group was like, just go out there and do the Superman pose for, and pace and do whatever you got to do. And I did. And I was like, okay, let's do this. And then I got in and I was like, oh my God, there's people. Okay. Like sometimes, hey, not every Meryl trick may work for all of us. I'm just saying. Sometimes it's just that Meryl sprinkle, or
sometimes.
And we talk about that dress
always this person. Oh, the blue. It's actually a top and a skirt. They're two separate. items.
There you go.
I saw you Superman.
Yeah, it's a super outfit. Because I needed it. Like I need it for my talk later. Yeah. I'm giving a talk and I want to give value, and people look to me for Purple Team. They look to me to be an expert in this thing, and I'm like, I want to give a really good talk, and I want to believe in what I'm saying, and I want my audience to. So I got to have like the power outfit, So that's another thing I do. I put on power outfits, things that make me feel better about myself. Because I wasn't always this tenacious person, you guys. I used to be a very meek and mild individual. Can you even imagine? Like I was afraid to speak up. I was afraid to put myself out there. I had to learn this.
What does that mean?
Yeah, I
I
paid attention to my internal monologue, like I said, and I was like, no, bish, not today. You don't win. Absolutely not. I'm stronger than you are. So I would start telling myself positive. I was like, the worst thing, acknowledge the scary thing. What's the worst thing that can happen? Okay, you go in there and you fall over your words and they kind of think you're an idiot, but you'll recover. You'll get there. Find a groove. Find an anchor that'll put you back in your groove of like, what you're speaking about or whatever. And I started to give myself these strategies. And I also learned that like, because I experienced all three versions of self-sabotage when I applied for my first pen tester role. Because again, 4 months new to InfoSec, not technical, don't know pen testing. I procrastinated applying. I procrastinated taking the Sec Plus. I self-doubted all the way because I had like one of their requirements, like not even the other 12. And I told myself, there's no freaking way. There's no freaking way. Why would you even try that? Everyone's going to think you're so pathetic because you applied and you tried and you didn't get it. And I had to have Heather, my mentor at the time, Heather Hall, say, why, Meryl, any basic man, a mediocre man would apply for that and not
mediocre man.
Yeah, he doesn't even have everything either, but he's going to go for it. And so I had to, that was like my first empowering moment. I did get the job and I was like, God, look at what happened. I was like, all I need to do is go in prepared and go in with my facts and go in knowing what I bring and truthfully acknowledging the deficiencies that I have. And I ask for the things that I want and I tell them why it would serve them. And I'm like, if you agree, if you think like I do, if you agree with my points, then we're going to do this. And that's how I've gotten every job I have. When I got hired at Zoom, I was like, I don't know all these things, but this is what I do know. And if you believe in my capability to get here, as I've demonstrated, then we're going to have a great time. But like I asked for it and I don't feel bad about asking for it, but I had to train myself to be this way. This is like Meryl 14.0.
Yeah.
Right there. Just so you know.
Well,
there you go.
You're awesome. You're awesome. And being aware, like self-aware, is one of the first steps and the best steps you can do to navigate through this or manage it. And as long as you're constantly trying to better yourself or, pinpoint what your triggers are, because I don't know if you guys know what your triggers are. I know what mine are when I start self-sabotaging. I know what my triggers can be, not every time, but if you can figure that out and just try to better it, you're not going to change it overnight. Just try to fix it every once in a while and you'll get better, better, and better. And I do want to say, whoever said hi to me, it shows you're a LinkedIn user. So I don't know who you are, but hello.
It comes from one of our 3 profiles. Is coming from somewhere. We'll find it later. It's don't take the perfectionist approach. Like you won't fix these things and unlearn these things overnight. This took years of personal refinement and a lot of self-development work. But like Erica said, knowing your triggers and just starting to work on them and trying to be consistent, that's a good strategy. But don't tell yourself because I didn't fix this tomorrow that you're a failure. Again, negative self-talk. Don't do it.
Well, somebody also said in the comments that they're afraid to fail. Failure is success. The most successful people have failed more than probably 10 times in their life. So don't be afraid to fail. It's not humiliating. It will be at the time, but when you look back and you learn from it, that's growth right there. I recently had an interview with a company that's their executive coach asked me to ask the executives, what's it like for you on a bad day? What's it like when I'm going to have a bad day? It's not necessarily a self-sabotage topic, but it's kind of relates because you can realize what some of your behaviors are and start pointing them out when you start thinking about that and asking other questions. Every day I get up and say affirmations. People think that they're stupid. I saw it in a movie. I didn't read a book on it. And every day I get up and say 5 things I'm grateful for and then 5 things that are positive. Because one of my other self-sabotages is I used to be 215 pounds after my second child, lost all my weight, became a bodybuilder. Right now I'm in a bulking / dirty bulk phase, which means I eat like crap. Whoops.
A calorie is a calorie. If it's a cali burrito or fish and rice.
You're not supposed to eat bad. You're supposed to eat clean when you want to put muscle on. But one of my self-sabotaging things that I do is I look in the mirror and I call myself a fat, what? I can't say the word, but it starts with a B. And if I start my day that way, every day that I've done that, I self-sabotage the entire day. I'll eat a chip or like a candy bar. Like as far as like, I call myself fat in the mirror. I see the 215 pound girl. I don't see the, 160 muscle or whatever the crap I'm supposed to be. And I don't see those wins that I've made in my life, and that I'm healthy and I'm 41 and people tell me I look like I'm in my late 20s, early 30s. I call myself ugly, fat. And that's body dysmorphia. Part of that's from bodybuilding. So that's a whole nother topic in itself. Meryl, you know that. Amber
so
knows
many
what that is.
bodybuilders suffer from that, and they leave the sport because they won't stop seeing the imperfections. They don't love their body. All they see is like, even on show day, every competitor hates their body. They're like, I could have been better. I could have been better. I could have been leaner. So it's true. It's true.
Well, and I don't compete because of that. Like, I'm a competitive bodybuilder at heart, and I will always be a competitive bodybuilder. But just because I don't compete doesn't mean I'm not a bodybuilder, because I'm constantly building. But I can't compete because of that. I cannot get past that.
And I want to riff on that for a minute, because I do bodybuild and I do compete, for those of you who don't know, in my non-existent free time. And it's such a journey, because I used to compete bikini and now I do wellness. And for wellness, you need a lot more muscle volume. And for bikini, I was doing a lot of slimming down. So I had to go through a bulk phase where I felt fat. I felt insanely out of shape. And I was, because I was eating like 2,400 calories a day trying to put on muscle, and it was all going to the right places. But all I saw was how much weight and volume I was putting on. It was a horrible, it was like, I wasn't in love with the journey. I was only in love with the end result, and I wasn't enjoying the journey in the middle. So I burned out last year and took like 6 months off. I just got back into it. But it's so hard for me to want to practice bodybuilding and practice like enjoying pushing myself and seeing the level of performance I can bring, and not teaching my children to see their flaws and imperfections. So I never say like, mommy doesn't love the way she looks. I say, I just can't wait until I achieve the goals I have for myself. And those are goals that I set. But like, it's like, I don't want them to see me in the mirror, like with my coach, like, we need to trim it here. And we need to work on this area more and this muscle group more. Like, cause all they're seeing is mom hates her body. Should I hate my body? And I'm like, it's so hard not to teach them that.
I hate check-ins, by the way. And Christopher Cox, we do have matching shirts. I just haven't sent them to Amber and Meryl yet. So we all have these
Erica's
shirts.
the only one with a matching shirt.
Yeah. She's the only matcher today.
You guys can order these. Just let me know if you want one.
We'll have a merch shop up sometime this year. I swear to God.
Sometime.
Yeah.
One of these days.
I think that's a great point, Amber, about how if you sit in it for too long, it can alter your brain chemistry. Like when you're in like toxic relationships or toxic work roles, and you're constantly in fight or flight, that will alter your physiology as well. Like you'll permanently alter how your brain manufactures chemicals, and that's why people often need help in that area. They need an antidepressant to supplement what they've been depriving themselves of with their negative self-talk. So
I think
that
was me last year. That was me in 2022. I was in a toxic environment. I don't want to say where, but I was drinking every day just to that's how I gained weight. I was drinking. I was self-medicating. And by the way, I hadn't touched alcohol in 10 years prior to that. So 10 years, I stopped drinking, not because I was an alcoholic, but because I started bodybuilding in 2012. And last year, I lost it, and it altered everything. And I will come out and say that, because I'm not embarrassed that I had a very bad year last year. Last year was a really tough year for me professionally and personally. And I turned to alcohol, and it was just the weirdest thing. And everything I did had I had no plan. I just kind of went with the flow. I was I don't care. And as you ladies know, as my co-hosts and besties, I always plan. I'm always like off or on it. And last year was just a very bad year. It trickled a little bit into 2023. But that's over now. None of that happened.
Never too late to start.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think like tying this back to work and like our professional lives, like for me, it's all about having a really good support system, right? And it doesn't need to be like a million people that you can rely on, right? Just even having just one person that that can keep you accountable, or like so for example, George and Erica and everybody that was there with me at the Empower the Next event, I will tell you, for all the people that have said in the comments that they're afraid to fail and everything else, like I'm telling you, so am I. I've never not been afraid to fail. There's always that question in an interview, right? Like, do you love to win or do you hate to lose? And for my whole life, no matter how much I pretend that I love to win, I hate losing, right? And so it's just kind of like, because it's very defeating. And so for me, I'm like, I hate losing because I don't want to let myself down. I don't want people to know that I let myself down. You know what I mean? Like, or like kind of judge me. And so I think even when I did that speech, that was like maybe like 2 minutes long, 3 minutes long.
Yep.
At the end of it, there was something about it. Like usually it's kind of like when you go on like a scary like roller coaster, right? You're like working yourself up and you're like, it's not going to be this bad. Like once I'm over it, it'll be like, woo, I'm so glad I did that. This was not one of those times for me. This was one of those times where as soon as it ended, I just felt like this, almost like this sense of like, and maybe this is a heavy word for it, but shame. Like I felt like I didn't give the way, it didn't come out the way I wanted it to. Like I wanted to look like Steve Jobs up there giving like, this like next keynote speech. And it felt like, my first time ever having a microphone, or I guess there was not a microphone, but you get it. And it was really hard for me. And I remember and Erica knows because I called her on the way back and I was just like harping on myself. Right. And if I didn't have Erica as a soundboard, or anybody that I did that day, like it would have been chaotic. And I think that that's really important is even though, because we're all going to feel like we're negative towards ourselves and we're all going to tell ourselves these things from our inner monologue. But I do think that it's about having people around you or even just one person or one thing that can kind of like get you out of that. Cause it is really hard. I will say like, there are not a lot of times we don't talk about this a lot. Like it's great to fail, right? Well, cool. Well, why is it great to fail? It's not great to fail. It's great to learn a lesson from it and take it and be better the next time. So like not everybody gets that message from their own inner monologue. Sometimes you do need other people. Sometimes you do need the feedback. Sometimes you do need to like have these conversations and realize like, okay, so that's maybe what I could be working on. Gotcha. So it's not that I'm a terrible person. It's that I just need to be louder, right? It's just like, because we tell ourselves these really bad things like internally, and that's just like what we do naturally. And I feel like, maybe, and I don't want to make it a gender thing, but I do feel like women tend to take that on a lot more. Or at least they kind of get more emotional about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that just having your network and like a strong system is so key for all of this, regardless, because then you also have your network that's like, hey, stop self-sabotaging, right? Like you're doing this and, maybe next time do this instead. Or like, hey, next time you get nervous or stressed, do this instead. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. And I had both of you last year, like Meryl knew that I was a hot mess. Amber, you knew that I was a hot mess. But speaking of that,
cheerlead you all day on your high school.
Yeah. Speaking of the Empower the Next event, I had to talk you off the ledge per se. Not that you were suicidal. That's not what I'm saying, audience. I had to talk you
not even
down
close.
and tell you like you are great, like because you don't like public speaking, but we were there to represent Teach Kids Tech, and it's something that you've built. You're the original founder. You know this, and when you get up there and talk about it, it was like our first meeting for Teach Kids Tech. You thought that when you presented it to the company that we were presenting to, that you did horrible. Literally, everybody was almost in tears in that meeting because you are so great at what you do. And there was a lot of unfortunate things that happened at the Empower the Next. Like there was a loud noise that started because we were at a brewery, and she's very soft spoken. But when you think that if you put that in your brain, you're going to fail because you're making yourself fail. If you try to just pull that out and just take a deep breath, and like you and I did, we walked outside, we walked back in, all of that, like you will settle. And if you think like you're talking too fast, like presenting is very hard for a lot of people. Like I always feel like I'm talking really fast when I'm presenting to a customer or for like a company I'm working for, but you just kind of have to draw that out. And that takes time. You have to drown out anything.
It's a control thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
it's 100% an anxiety driven control thing, right? Because you kind of want to control the narrative. You want to control your own feelings. My mom actually explained this really, really well to me because we have the exact same fear and the exact same like insecurities, right? And it's kind of like, I'm going to overthink this so much that I've thought of every worst possible case scenario. So that way, if it happens, it's not as much of a, like a hit to me kind of thing. Like, it's like almost like you expect it. And if it doesn't happen, then I've succeeded. Right. So it's kind of like this like mental chaos that you go.
It's like when you don't smile. It's like when you don't smile at a photo, people go, you don't look cute in that photo. You go, that wasn't the point. I did this. Like obviously on purpose.
Amber, how many conversations have we had about writing a darn email and we overthink it, and then somebody comes in there, they're like, just send it, and we're like, no, we gotta do this.
That's me. I'm the one who's like, what are you doing? Just do it.
Yeah. Like, well, let's think about how to word this. How would they want to
hear it? We overthink it, but that's and you didn't make it a gender thing. That is how women are. They've done studies on this. We just overthink, and we're afraid to fail, and we don't want to put ourselves out there. But that has to stop. We need to stop being on this BS, because I can't take it anymore. We're so great.
And I'm guilty of it too. Like I do a lot of public speaking at like cons about like my work and purple teaming and stuff. And like I have my own speaking style for sure. And I've never gotten bad feedback. Like everyone will come to me and tell me they loved the content. They loved how I delivered it. They loved my energy. But then I'll see someone like Catherine Wong, you know, or like Alyssa Miller talk, like these refined speakers, these like women who just tell stories and suck you in, and they can speak slowly and with gravity, and you're hanging on their words.
And
I'm like,
gravity.
I want to
I
speak
love that.
like that. I'm like, oh, I don't speak like that. Like, I'm like, you know, there's always a way to improve, but I'm like, God, these, like, they're so much better than me. Why am I on the stage next to them? And I'm like, it's there. It's horrible.
Impossible.
All right, ladies, we got to wrap up this episode. It's been a great one. We didn't get through almost anything on my outline, so maybe we'll do a follow-up. But it's been a great discussion. I think this is something that affects a lot of people. It obviously affects all of us every day. Like, just because you see a lot of our success at the tip, like just because you see the tip of the iceberg where like we're celebrating a bunch of our wins and stuff, you didn't see the stuff underneath where we were self-doubting and failing and experiencing setbacks. Like I took CEH 3 times. I failed it twice before I passed, and I've been pen testing for 4 years now. So, you know, failure is okay. Give yourself permission to fail. So let's do a final takeaway with a strategy on overcoming self-sabotage, your favorite strategy for overcoming it going forward. And maybe we'll have to do a follow-up. All right, go.
I would say mine's going to be very simple, and maybe not necessarily a long-term strategy, but acknowledging that it's there, right? That's the biggest thing. Like acknowledging behaviors that you're doing that do not benefit your well-being. That's the key thing, right? And then I'm sure you ladies will have, you know, 1,000 different examples of what to do after that. But I do think that it's important to maybe sit with yourself, even if you think like, that's not me. I'm perfect. I don't do anything wrong. I'm, you know, whatever. Like really think like, how could you improve your life if you made certain changes? So just acknowledging and figuring out who you really are is a big one.
Sitting with yourself can be one of the most uncomfortable things you ever do. Like really, like a lot of people busy themselves to avoid sitting with themselves, but like it's important. That's an important one. Erica?
It is. So my final takeaway, you know, I'm going to piggyback off of the acknowledgement. Figure out your triggers. When you're in it, it's really hard to take yourself out of it, but review it afterwards and try to pinpoint what your triggers are. And bringing it into, you know, trying to get into cyber, I just want to say, apply for that job. I don't care what the job description is. Apply for that job. Yeah. Don't tell yourself no.
I mean, apply for the job. Apply for the job. Apply for the job.
Exactly.
Apply for the job. Yeah, I'm going to say seek support, which was my number one thing. Like we in this country have such a mindset problem countrywide. That asking for help means we have failed, means that like you're a failure of a human because you couldn't do it on your own. Life today is so hard. Could you imagine Puritans looking at our society today and being like, oh my God, you do all that? Jesus, when do you sleep? Like it is okay in the fast-paced society we live in to seek help. Therapy is seeking help. Finding allies is seeking help. Having someone who's on your team in a meeting who can be like afterwards, can you tell me where I started to lose it? Can you help me find these things? Can you help me point out when I do that and like be my person? Like find someone you can go to that you trust to give you actionable, constructive criticism. And like, don't be afraid to ask for help or support. Even for many of us, if you're having a bad day, and you just need someone to give you a push, DM one of us. We are happy to do it because we at one point all had to lean on someone else or each other, and we still do it very heavily. Exactly. You know, I just showed the comment, you don't see the cry sessions. We have many. We have many. Like it's hard.
The best part is we have them with each other. So another benefit of
this is my tribe. So whether they want to or not, like I got stood up on a date again. No, I'm kidding. But like literally anything that starts making me doubt myself, I call or text one of them. So find somebody and try to practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and empathy. If you're willing to build up a total stranger who's like, I'm having a bad day, maybe I am contemplating a very dramatic bad choice, and you're like, no, man, the world's better with you in it. You're worthy. Why won't you say that to yourself? Why won't you do that to yourself? Even if you're celebrating a small win, that's still a win.
Yes. Self-love is not selfish. We need to remember that.
It's not. And if you don't have anyone to celebrate a win with you, you DM them to me and I will hype the crap out of you.
Yes.
Whatever your win is, you got out of bed today and put on pants. That's a win.
Yes. DM any of us, because
any of us, we love it.
Yes, absolutely.
We love
bed, putting on pants and not pajamas is definitely a win.
I love putting on pajamas. I don't know what you guys are talking about.
I love
my favorite thing.
All right. Before we do our buys, I'm going to leave the audience with a quote. And this quote is, and I pulled it off the internet, I don't know who said it, but the truth is, unless you let go, unless you forgive yourself, unless you forgive the situation, and unless you realize the situation is over, you cannot move forward. And moving forward is the key. So, boom. All right. This has been another episode of the Cyber Queens. We have loved having you with us today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy Friday to listen. I hope to see you all in another hour at Unicon. If not, I won't take it personally. The best way, if you love our content, the best way you can support us is to like, share, and subscribe and tell your friends. It's totally free. And again, we would appreciate it very much. Please feel free to DM us anything that you need at any time. Our DMs are always open to everybody. With that, we will see you next week. The Queens love you. Happy Friday.
Bye, guys.
Bye.